Hello.
Okay, shall we begin? So, dear friends, welcome to Kardec Radio at 11 p.m. We're studying the book Harvest of Light, right, Virginia?
Yes, and this is the chapter.
And this is from this book?
49.
From which book?
From this book, and it is very important because the paper is here.
Okay, so it's about Jesus, right?
Yes, everything Jesus tells us, we need to know.
Okay, thank you, Virginia. Are you going to help holding the paper too? Thank you. So let us read. Can you put here so mommy can read together? So chapter 49 is about before offenses. And Emmanuel, the spirit author, quotes Jesus, right? In Matthew chapter 5, verse 20.
Verse 20.
Jesus said, "For I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven." So Jesus quotes, Emmanuel quotes Jesus, and now we're going to read Emmanuel's interpretation, okay? Before we read Emmanuel's interpretation, we want to remind everyone that Emmanuel, when he compiled this book, he compiled this book almost like in educational way. I think it is in an educational way. And we have been studying about spiritual immunization, self-protection, and now he wraps up this very important part by talking to us about offenses. And Virginia volunteered to come because we came from the center. It's a little late. And before I put her to bed, it's much easier if we do our study and then we follow through. But it's about offenses. Before we read it, let us be permeable. I know Virginia already helped us, right? To soothe such an intense topic. This topic is not easy. But do we take offenses? Can we do an assessment question here? Question. Scale 0 to 10. 0 being I don't take offense at all, never, or 10 like always I take offense. Where are you nowadays? Tomorrow will be better. We were worse in previous existences. In this life, right now, at this moment, scale 0 to 10, how often do you take offense? Every time somebody speaks? Every time somebody does something? It gets on you and you're like, they did it on purpose. They didn't want to help. Or you're like always understanding, etc. it's important to do the self-assessment. So welcome everyone. It's good to see wonderful friends, so welcoming, so warm, so loving. Thank you, friends. Thank you for your loving kindness. So what does Emmanuel say about this? He says, in order to meet Jesus' recommendation, love one another as I have loved you, you will not place yourself only in the place of the brother in need of material help, so that you understand the indigence with security. You will also place yourself in the position of the one who offends you, so that you may perceive the misery of their soul, the penury of their soul, so that you extend the possible help to them. Usually, you, the one who hurts you, may be in varying degrees of difficulty and trouble. Perhaps the person is in the climate of pitiful deceptions from which they will abandon later in painful conditions of repentance. Perhaps that person will be suffering depression, is suffering the pressure of embarrassing obsessive processes. Perhaps that person is carrying hidden ailments. Perhaps the person is evidencing unhappy purposes under the hypnosis of unruly ambition that one day he will withdraw under the disenchantment of guilt. Perhaps the person is acting with irresponsibility due to ignorance. Or perhaps the person is satisfying the compulsions of madness or proceeding without self-criticism in a distressing moment of trials and expiation. For this very reason, Jesus exhorted us to love our enemies and to pray for those who persecute us and slander us. This is because we are inconsequent every time we return receipt to insults and provocations with which we have nothing to do. If we have this spirit pacified in our duty fulfilled, why leaving the royal road of the good in order to hear the suggestions of darkness in the cliffs of evil? Moreover, if we are at peace, ahead of our brothers and sisters involved in shadows or despair, it would not be just or human to aggravate their imbalance with thoughtless reactions when the sane before Jesus are called to succor the sick with sincere willingness to understand and to serve, to relieve and to assist. Have we observed that this is the first time that Emmanuel mentions to us, since the first paragraph, that Jesus is recommending something to us? What should we do when somebody is recommending something to us? Listen, and especially if the one who is recommending to us is at Jesus' stature. So the question here for us is, how obedient are we? Oh, Vanessa, obedience. I don't like it. But go to the Gospel according to Spiritism. There is a chapter and a subtitle, Obedience. We learn with Jesus the importance of obeying to the calls of on high. Another assessment question. How obedient are we to these recommendations? Majority of us are still wild, are still very difficult in being domesticated. And I say this kindly. Mentor Joseph said, like beautiful wild horses, we often don't want to be saddled up. We don't. We kick and scream. We're not easy in our domestication, in taming our instincts. And that's why Emmanuel is educating us by saying, let us follow Jesus' recommendation. Question, are we following it? How do we usually behave before those who come against us? Friends, I'm asking you as much as I'm asking myself. We're not pointing fingers. This is a study, as we said last night. There is no leader waiting for followers. Jesus is our leader and we are equally followers. We're learning together. Jesus' recommendation, love one another as I have loved you. But then we have a comma. But that person did this to me. And then he says, you will only forgive and not even taking offense if and only if you understand the person, where the person is coming from. So if last night we were talking about tolerance and respect as immunization for us, today Emmanuel in the subsequent chapter is teaching us how to practice tolerance and understanding. Karina Alice is saying, Andrea Luis said that free are only the ones who obey. Right, Karina? Wow. It deserves a super quote here. Huh? Keep it in the forehead. Free are only those who obey. Reading the Gospel according to Spiritism, the virtue, obedience. Usually we don't obey because we're like, I'm not going to help this person. They want me to do this, but they're not my boss. I'm not going to do this to my child. They're not my boss. And then we are rebellious against the actual boss, against the actual child, against everyone in our lives, including Jesus. Like Emmanuel, as we can read in the book 2,000 years ago. When Jesus came to him and invited him, come, he was like, me? I'm going to follow a Galilean, a Nazarene, a carpenter? I'm a Roman senator, for God's sakes. That's his behavior, rebellious. Later he learned to subject himself to Jesus. Jesus as the representative of God on earth. So then he says, the person who hurts us goes through difficulties. They may look good, right? Isn't that right? Sometimes the people who hurt us, they look good. They have positions of power. They have money. And they have beauty. And they have families. And they have the whole 9 yards. And we're like, no, but they don't have a problem. They just want to hurt me. Mm-mm-mm. I'm going to open a parenthesis here. When we go to school, nowadays there's a big issue about bullying. Bullying has always existed, but nowadays we are at critical levels because we are more aware of it. And there is a movie after a movie reporting beautiful girls, beautiful boys being bullies. But then you ask, why? and I'll give you a magnifier to see the history of their family. Because nobody who is raised in a loving family becomes a bully. A bully is the byproduct of somebody who is either neglected or is bullied or is abused. Loved people do not become bullies. So they may look good outside. They may have connections, but they are sick. Emmanuel says he gives us 6 cases explaining, making us understand the possibilities of the reasons why somebody offends us or when we offend people. Let's see. The person may be in pitiful deceptions. They are blind. Or they are suffering the pressure of embarrassing obsessive processes. Sometimes we don't know what it is to be under true obsession. Let us go to the Medium's book by Kardec, chapter 23. Obsession. It was the first time on earth in which the term was used officially. Kardec coined the term. It's a technical term in Spiritism because Spiritism is a science. And he coins the term obsession, meaning the first phrase, persistent negative influence of a spirit onto another. Stop. If I am constantly thinking negatively about somebody, am I obsessing that person? If I am always talking bad things about somebody, am I obsessing that person? Oh, but Vanessa, the person doesn't know me. And I just talk about it. No, but that doesn't exist. It's energy. It's mental darts, vibrations. We're influencing that person. In the book Sex and Destiny, Andre Luiz explains to us how our judgmental nature smashes the person who is already obsessed and pushes them to the abyss of obsession, even more deeper. So the counterpart, the antidote, compassion, but not this false compassion. Oh, poor them, let's pray for them. It's the real feeling. We're brothers and sisters. One day they'll be out of this. I'm sure about it. He says in chapter 23 that there are 3 types of obsession in gradations and characteristics. 1. Common, simple obsession. He named it because it's very common. We feel the negative vibration, influence, but we are aware and we can still fight against it. Don't you feel that every day? Now, what about the next level? Fascination. Fascination is another technical term, which means when we cannot see, we cannot discern. It's as if the spirit or somebody puts a specific specific lenses on us, we can only see the color that they put on. They cannot see it. People who are prejudiced, racists, they are certainly not alone. They cannot see the other race as an equal human being. They cannot see the person from another socioeconomic status as an equal human being. They're blind, folded. They're not victims. They have their own take on it. The third one, subjugation. Subjugation is when the will of the person is impaired, is blocked. Addictions in general. I know I shouldn't do it, but I keep doing it. So here he's saying it's embarrassing. And we see in the Bible many accounts, King David and others who were subjected to the subjugations and started having behavior that was so odd, and they didn't even realize it. People who carry hidden ailments. You don't know. For example, somebody is feeling pain, and then you go talk to them and they are rough. Ah, you see how rude they are, but you don't know. And Jesus has a beautiful chapter on this in the book Jesus in the Home, telling us, say, there was a teacher that took the apprentice to follow some people after they felt that they were offended, and they found a man who had gastrointestinal ailment. The other one had a sick daughter at home. The other one had financial issues. So when we meet people, they have their lives. Why do we expect that they're going to be a master in their emotional, social approach if we're all still learning? Sometimes the person who offends us, says Emmanuel, is showing unhappy purposes under the hypnosis of unruly ambition that one day they will withdraw under the disenchantment of guilt. No, I can't believe it. Guilt, hold on, is in this book, Thought in Life, so we can understand. You look at politics nowadays, positions, powers, administration. I can't believe that person is doing this. Believe they don't know what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing. And then we do it. Guilt, chapter 22, 85. And you may be asking, I think, but what do I do? What if I'm doing something that I think is right and it's not right, right? It almost rhymes. How do I know? Prayer. Study. Oh gosh. What if I'm doing something? Oh God, please show it to me. And we'll be given the opportunity. It will be presented. He says, we develop feelings of guilt in the book Thought and Life, chapter 22. Whenever we avoid fulfilling our duty. Ah, now the secret. Then this leads to various shades of remorse and then activates an infiltration of darkness. I'll give an example for spiritists. If instead of helping my community, I decide to do something elsewhere just to show off to people that I am important, I am not fulfilling my duty. And then deep inside, my community is going to start requesting. And then I'll feel all divided, like many parents in their families, forgetting to fulfill their duties and ambitioning. And then guilt comes and remorse open doors to obsessors. So if we want to be immunized against guilt, we need to fulfill our duty. I know, that's a question. What is my duty? Prayer. And we have the answer. Self-observation. We have the answer. It's right in our face. Because God's merciful. Our duty is not far away, miles away. It's right here where we are. And he says, the person who hurts us may be acting with irresponsibility because they ignore due to ignorance. Yes, some people don't know. They take their little babies and give to a babysitter because they say, I have to work, and that's it. They don't know that they have a choice. Oh, but Vanessa, sometimes they don't have a choice. I agree with you. But many times people have a choice. And that's the problem. We're talking about when there is a choice. And we think there is no choice. Because we think, I've done my part. I just stated. Now somebody else is going to take care of this kid. And I will support. I will be here. But then we're not the ones educating. Somebody else is. You may be asked, but Vanessa, you're like a broken record talking about parents and children. Yes, because above all topics, that's the most important. Our society is the way it is because we're not preparing parents to be parents. And Chico Xavier used to say we need to give a course to parents to help them be aware of what they're doing. And as a mother, I agree. We need a course. We need to study. We need instruction. We need directions. Because most often, no matter how many books we read, we don't know. So we need each other's help. We ignore. So he says sometimes that person will act offending us out of irresponsibility because they don't know. Like when people crucified Jesus. He said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know. Look at this. This is the picture that Akiane painted when she was 8 or 9 years old about Jesus at the moment that he said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing. That's how she expressed that actual moment between Jesus and God. We often don't know. Think about 100 years from now. How many things are we going to know that we don't know nowadays? And you're going to think you're stupid. No, you just didn't know better. But that's why we have the books. To know better. To study. To instruct ourselves. About what? About everything. As Joseph said, knowledge is always welcome. He often says knowledge and experience, when it's a healthy one and a good one, it's always welcoming. We do not filter out. Somebody's going to say, oh, there is a course. I'm going to teach you something about this. Okay, I will learn it. If it's a good thing, why not? The artist Teresa Castro, if I'm not pronouncing correctly, forgive me. It's Akiane. I know they pronounce differently the name in English, but it's Akiane. Akiane. Akiana, sometimes people say. But she has beautiful gallery, beautiful website. Her story is phenomenal. And you can read more about this, about her. Google Akiana. Akiane. Satisfying, sometimes the person is just satisfying impulses, compulsions of madness because they lack self-criticism. Thank you, Adilson. Akiane.com. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And this is because, he says, they are in moments of trials and probations. When you're under exam, there is that pressure and you don't know what to do next. And then you start behaving a hectic way. Are we justifying? No. Emmanuel is just making us exercise this understanding. Thank you for asking, Teresa, because it clarifies to everybody. So finally, he says, again, twice in the same chapter, and I know this chapter is a little more intense. It's as if we're weight lifting like 3 times the weight that we have been lifting. But that's part of our workout of the soul. He's saying, Jesus exhorted us to love our enemies and to pray for those who persecute us and slander us. So if you ask me, Vanessa, do you regret when you couldn't understand the people who persecuted and slandered you? Yes, I do. Would you do different? Yes. How? I'm learning. But Jesus teaches us. Pray for them. And he says, if people throw a hot potato at you, you can either catch it, hold it, embrace it, and burn yourself, or let it go and say, I'm sorry, that's not mine. So that's a good exercise for us, huh? In the next 24 hours, to be practical. Somebody does something that seems like an offense. It's like a hot potato. Visualize a hot potato. Oh, it's a hot potato. I have a choice. Hold it, keep it, allow myself to be burned with it, or let it go and say, or dodging, and say, oh, it's not mine. It's not for me. No, no, no. And how will I know not to do it? I will not pass it forward. I will not rewind the tape a million times. That's our exercise for the next 24 hours, okay? And he's saying, why you're going to leave the peace of your royal road of the good. Wow. Emmanuel, royal road of the good. To hear the suggestions of darkness, he says you have a choice. Ooh, thank you, Emmanuel. We have a choice, and that's so true. He says, if we are at peace, we're not gonna aggravate them with thoughtless reactions. So Emmanuel is teaching us not to be reactive. We are going to do what? What Jesus recommended. If you're doing well, he says, you're going to help the sick, understanding, serving, relieving, and assisting. Don't you feel empowered, my friend? We feel empowered. This is the message of the good news. How good does it feel that Emmanuel came from his road of experience, and now is sharing with us how not to take offense. Because as a Roman senator, he used to take offense for nothing. Now, no longer. We learn to understand. Look at people with the eyes of an adult to a child. Do you remember the diagram about the adult, the child, and the parent? When people are behaving in this way that Emmanuel is saying, hurting others, usually they are behaving like a kid, rebellious. If we don't behave in the same way and behave like an adult, we'll be understanding, we'll serve, relieve, and assist. So the bottom line in psychology here is that this chapter is calling us. Thank you. So he's telling us, let's be the adult. No longer behave like the child, fighting, dwelling with the kid. Okay? Don't do that. What an amazing lesson for us. As Akiane portrayed in this beautiful, beautiful picture, Akiane.com, she portrays Jesus saying, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. That's a good sentence for us. Self-compassion. For others, compassion. What are we going to do in the next 24 hours? If you think you're taking offense, say, uh-oh, hot potato. I have a choice. Hold it, keep it, burn yourself, or let it go. Not even hold it, dodge, and say, that's not mine. Pray and say, I know one day they will be conscious. They will be better. They will be empowered to do the good. Right now, they don't know what they are doing. Like when we don't know, instead of punishing ourselves, feeling guilt, we say, you didn't know any better. Now you know. Isn't that uplifting? So since he's saying we should pray, we're going to pray. Okay? We're going to pray together for those who persecute and slander us. Shall we? Let us close our eyes and feel the invitation and recommendation of Jesus and pray for those who persecute and slander us. Dear God, loving Father and Mother of all of us, thank you for teaching us the lessons of understanding, of tolerance, respect, kindness, goodness. Thank you for sending Jesus towards us to exemplify it all. Tonight or today, we would like to kindly ask you to lead us to soothe our emotions towards those who persecute and slander against us. We would like to offer to them your loving embrace, trusting that one day we will be pacified, reconciled, and everything shall pass. Help us. Wish them well. Please help us. Send them vibrations of the good, and do not allow us to dwell against them or with them. May your loving and kind vibrations soothe the tensions, dissolve them, harmonizing ourselves with one another. And may with you we all visualize a better planet, tolerant, kind, peaceful, loving, all embracing, because we trust that we're marching towards that. We thank you for showing us the way and giving us the opportunity of co-creating with you. And so be it. Friends, we wish you a beautiful exercise in the next 24 hours. I'm gonna do it too. Okay, the hot potato exercise. Don't take offense, because then you don't need to worry about it. Emmanuel is such a loving educator. You see, chapter 50. I know these chapters have been dense, right? Now he gives us a soothing chapter. Chapter 50, tomorrow, God willing, before the divine sower. Hi. Oh my gosh. And Jesus said, listen. And the sower started sowing. Jesus is the sower of the earth, and humanity is the harvest of God in his hands. Ay, ay, ay. We are in love. Tomorrow we're going to come back to learn about ourselves as the field onto which Jesus sows the seed of God. I want to know more, don't you? Yes, what an invitation. For now, we give you a super tight hug of fraternity, and we wish you a beautiful night if you're going to sleep, or a beautiful day practicing these teachings. Don't take the hot potato. Let it go. Okay? Let it pass. And bless. Bless the ones who are throwing the hot potatoes. They don't know what they are doing. And if it is us, we don't know either. Many blessings, friends. And until tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.